These are some of the fastest riders on the planet, but what makes them so fast? Most people would be able to guess a few things, and they'd probably be right in most cases, but there's one misconception that they fall for that you may find interesting. And by that, I mean interesting purely as a fan of racing, but also if you're a rider of the track yourself, this new perspective could make a big difference for you. So what is this misconception? It's that these pro riders are getting through the corners much quicker than they are, or more specifically, that their mid-corner speed is much higher than theirs. But this may not be the case. To help you understand why, first we need to understand something that I like to call the transition point. Put simply, the transition point is the specific place in the corner where the bike stops slowing down and starts speeding back up. It's essentially the place where you get back to the throttle in the middle of the corner. Contrary to many riders' beliefs, your speed is very rarely static around the lap. And if you were to look at a pro rider's telemetry, it would look something like this. And these are the transition points. These are the points where a rider has finished their braking and steering somewhere in the middle of the corner. The bike is now on the line they want for corner exit, so they open the throttle and begin speeding back up. Now, the transition point may not be right in the middle of the corner. Taking the whole corner into account, this point could be early, near the middle, or later on. It also isn't the apex of the corner. The point where you stop slowing down, get back to the throttle and start speeding back up could be before it, right on top of it, or even after it, depending on the result you're trying to get from that corner and the track section as a whole. Try not to think too geographically here. The transition point will vary depending on the corner, the rider, and the bike, among other things. However, don't get bogged down by this. You don't need to know where this point is, only that the bike is slowing down going into the corner, and once the speed and line is set for the exit, it begins speeding back up. Where that happens is the transition point. So, back to our misconception and the mistake riders make. Amateurs will often see that their lap times are slower than more capable riders, and obviously they'll know that they're vastly slower than professionals. The mistake they'll make is in thinking, I just need to run more speed through the corner. I need more corner speed. And what this does is set them on a path of trying to run more and more speed into and through corners to achieve higher mid-corner speed. But past a certain level, a level we'll discuss later in this video, this plan of action can start to yield negative results. Why? Because the speed you hold at the transition point somewhere in the middle of the corner isn't the key determining factor for a fast lap time. A fast lap time comes from the whole section, meaning the corner itself, but more importantly, what you do before it and after it. This means taking into account what speed you're doing at the end of the straight, how late you brake, how much speed you're able to carry in the corner entry phase, your speed in the middle of the corner, and how you're able to drive out of it. So earlier we looked at an example telemetry trace from a pro rider which looked something like this. Now, if we were to overlay a relatively fast and competent rider's telemetry over the top, which for the sake of this example, let's say it's a comfortable fast group rider on a track day, it would look something like this. So what are we seeing here? Like I said, the bike is almost always slowing down or speeding up. But while our amateur rider is achieving that result, the numbers we see around it in certain places are quite different. What you'll see is that the amateur rider reaches a lower top speed on the straight, they have lower corner entry speed, they drive away from the corner less effectively, meaning a lower speed coming out of the corner and down the next straight. Notice what I didn't say is that they have a much slower speed in the middle of the corner at the transition point. And those with a keen eye would have noticed something about this in particular. Sometimes our pro rider has higher mid-corner speed. Other times these speeds are the same, but it isn't out of the realms of possibility that our amateur rider will have a speed that's higher than the pros. But before we tie up how you need to think about this in a nice little bow, let's go into a little more detail about what these pros are doing with an example piece of track. And for this I like to use a high degree corner because I think it best demonstrates the point. So our pro rider will be achieving a higher top speed on the straight, most likely because of their exit from the previous corner was better, and because they're more confident on the brakes, allowing them to brake later. They'll achieve higher entry speeds because their supreme trail braking technique and their ability to dance along the limits of traction, making much better use of the corner entry phase to set their speed for the corner. Once they reach the transition point, because of their perfect bike placement and throttle timing, they'll have a perfect line for corner exit. And finally, because of that line and their ability to maximize their use of available grip with superior throttle control, they'll get away from the transition point quicker and reach a higher top speed down the following straight. And notice again that I said nothing about their mid-corner speed at the transition point. So here's a simple way to think about it. When we consider the mid-corner speed is similar between a decent amateur and a pro, What the pro is very good at is getting to the transition point as quickly as possible and away from that point very quickly too. While the speed right in the middle of the corner won't be too dissimilar, the average speed through the whole section will be very different. So earlier in the video I hinted that this is largely relevant past a certain level of rider, and that's because for less experienced riders, mid-corner speed should still be an area for improvement. All else being equal, a rider that can achieve high lean angles and by extension higher corner speeds, they're going to gain quite a bit of time through the whole section, because a rider that can't achieve high lean angles is going to be limited by a much lower corner speed. For those riders, one big step to improvement in the beginning will be to break their lean angle barriers so that they can reach those high lean angles and higher corner speeds. However, once you get to the point where you can use most of the lean angle potential of your bike, trying to achieve higher and higher mid-corner speeds could become detrimental because of how it affects the exit. Quite simply, too much mid-corner speed is going to mean you have a wider cornering arc and you spend more time with the bike leaned over, preventing you from standing it up and driving out of it. Now, it goes without saying that the priority of where you try to find speed and time will change depending on a number of factors, things like the corner type or the bike you're riding, to name two big ones. However, the general idea is always the same. On equal machinery and tyres, the pros simply do a better job of getting to and away from the transition point in the middle of the corner. And once you can achieve the full lean angle potential of your bike, the question shouldn't be, how can I run more speed through the corner? But instead, how can I get to the transition point and away from it quicker? And a big part of that is throttle timing. So check out this video which talks about that point specifically. But outside of that, thank you so much for watching this one, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.